It's not hard to spot bullshit. What you're spoon fed on the internet is bullshit now, exclusively. By and large. Maybe I shouldn't use the word exclusively. I say that because most people are digesting exactly what they're spoon fed. That's where I'm coming from, at least. Most people do not have eyes to see because they're not thinking for themselves, they're not using the brain between their ears. This is old school propaganda. Um, if you were thinking for yourself, this would have no traction for one. Only 100, or what was it, 1,727 people have liked it. It's not as bad as some. Maybe somebody just uploaded it a minute ago. If you're picking up what I'm putting down. 373 have already circulated the propaganda because none of these kids recognize it as propaganda. And it's the same old methodology. That controlled opposition narratives, controlled opposition assets, controlled opposition in general, same thing, really. It's how they function. So she's going to tell you about the Bible, big surprise. She's going to tell you about the Council of Nicaea, sure. And this is superficial slop. Yeah, all religions have been hijacked. All religion is social control. All religion has been run through numerous tongues, numerous translations, etc., etc. It's all been corrupted. Aspects of it still hold water. There are deeper answers in there. But again, if you can't recognize propaganda, you're not going to understand those things that I just alluded to. You will never fucking see them. You will never understand them. Which is why people do not understand these things. The things that I'm talking about, not what you were spoon-fed on your, in your feed on the DARPA internet. So I'm going to play this video, and halfway through, I think she finally starts leaping into the controlled opposition narratives, if not 3/4 of the way through. And it should stand out like a sore thumb. Anytime you post garbage like this, you'll also see down on the bottom now, you have the search. What is it? Christic by Ashanananyang, Dieng. This is new age propaganda bullshit. This gal, that is. The name that I'm highlighting down there. And what is that in place for? And some of you should already know this. New age propaganda was put in place to pave the way for a one world religion. It's one of numerous agendas that have been corrupting what reflects reality, which brings us full circle to where we are today, with the garbage people repeat. How many times have I talked to you guys about Tartaria and Atlantis and bullshit? Absolute bullshit. Including but not limited to the pseudo-intellectual flat earth and the physics-defying heliocentric globe theory. Bullshit. But these are things that you're spoon-fed, so it's highly unlikely that I just offended you because you've been buying into and believing the garbage that you're spoon-fed. I'm dragging this out intentionally. Not a great delivery, but yeah, dragging it out because attention spans are being done away with and most people would probably tune out. And if you're truly invested, which means you're involved, you guys would put in the time. Oh, and on that note, it's one of many cherry pickers, but not all of them make themselves known. On one of my YouTube channels, if you guys know any of them, if you guys live in the same city as these people, you should give them a piece of your mind. And or if you're too chicken shit to do that and you know that they live in Portland, you should, dish up the dirt. Let me know where they're at. I would love that. Back to point.
Catholicism has to do with the Council of Nicaea. The ones who invented the Bible as we know it. Who wrote the Bible about God? No, the Council of Nicaea wrote the Bible by editing historical records. I'm not afraid to say that. Why? Because I'm mad. Because I've been taught the Bible was a book from God, and it wasn't. The original teachings that it was based on were from God, and they were holy. And they were taken out and edited, and then the Council of Nicaea decided it was going to run us around by the nose, pretending this book was something that somebody else wrote, that they really did. But this movement indicated something different was taking place. The Anunnaki had their heyday.
All right, see, we're stepping away from things now. Granted, that word, Anunnaki, it once reflected something to some degree, having to do with quote unquote, history. I almost said antediluvian, but that also has been hijacked and bleeds into where she goes with this. And when you hear Anunnaki, how many of you think of bullshit space? This is what I mean. It's been hijacked and weaponized. It no longer refers to what it once referred to. It's been dressed up in terms of bullshit cosmology, which technically isn't cosmology at all. It's a fucking, adult fairy tale. It's a wet dream for retards. Yeah? And most of you probably haven't figured that much out. So when you hear Anunnaki, you probably should tune out, typically speaking now. Because anything you hear is going to be sensational bullshit. And from there, it's going to be a launching pad, stepping stones into more propaganda. Propaganda compounded on propaganda, compounded on propaganda. And none of it's going to hold water, at least I should say most of it, if not all of it. Poorly put again on my behalf. The thing is you're just going to keep getting further and further away from anything that remotely reflects reality once you start doing this. And this also, it speaks to how the internet works now. Say you're on YouTube and you click on one Anunnaki video. You're going to get stuck in a fucking idiot loop. And the algorithm will keep showing you test tube alien propaganda under the banner of the Anunnaki and or these associated agendas. It's all the same fucking bullshit, but you're going to get another sensational fucking narrative, controlled opposition narrative. And the terrifying thing is people do that. People want to do that. Most people do that, which is why this shit has traction. But I can point things out that people aren't aware of, such as this. And people do not give a flying fuck what I'm up to. If you haven't figured things like this out, you will never figure out any of the cool stuff. And the same applies to, once again, religion, politics, and all that superficial shit that I've been beating my drum lately. Long term, trying to illustrate a point. That people do not care. They are not willing to do the right thing. And you and I are surrounded by absolute fucking fools, which is why things are bad.
With their, gods running around having love affairs in the sky, and Poseidon made, Paxos, I believe, appear so he could have a place to put his mistress and all these wonderful things. It's really amazing how islands come to be, at least in Greek mythology or Roman mythology.
In Greek, if memory serves me, came before Roman, so she was right the first time. It was just rebranded and hijacked in a number of ways. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the order of appearances. And things were already... Well, that's a whole nother ball of wax. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it. Seminar 2.
Yeah, we're going to Paxos, too. And we'll talk about Paxos when we get there, but it has to do with it. It's an important gate.
Do you see how she's building this up and leaping off of one bullshit thing to the next? Based on some of the words that were hijacked, mind you. She said Anunnaki, now she's using, what was it? She's pronouncing it Paxos. Now she's talking about gates. She mentioned the sky for a reason, to paint a picture and to get you thinking about bullshit. And where do we go from there?
You say, take place. But anyway, the shift was a shift back into draconian agenda.
Now we're talking about bullshit lizard people that come from fuck all, which is why she did that. Then she's going to drag you back down, to the earth, for the lack of better words, and she's going to tell you about some sensational crap again. Embellishments on a second-hand account, allegedly handed to an asshole. You probably know what I'm talking about if you've been paying attention. And it's nothing but propaganda these days.
There's been a battle. A long-standing battle. It started in Atlantis.
Absolute horseshit. And this is what the bedrock, the foundation of New Age propaganda is based on. It's based on bullshit. I might highlight it another day. I got a handful of books here in-house, and it's going to show you some of them. Some of the outlines in there, they're New Age propaganda outlines. And some of the system trees that they have in there, some of the blueprints, the diagrams, they're absolutely ridiculous. This is like the, what is it called? Bohmer? Bohmer. Some of you might know what I'm talking about, and I think it's got a number associated with it, and it's new age fucking dog shit. An easy one that comes to mind, at least for me, is 5D. If you don't understand how you and I work, you don't understand where we are, even in the simplest fucking terms, you might be susceptible to believing and repeating shit like that. 5D is absolutely ridiculous shit. There's something to it, but not what you're told, not what people repeat, and you can assume that I'm wrong.
Between the Atlan king lines and the Atlas king lines.
You should also look up Atlantis and Atlas and other words, with these roots like Atlantic. There aren't too many of them. And the etymology behind these is absolutely wishy-washy and vague. And what she's riffing off of has no foundation whatsoever. None. What she just urged you to believe is bullshit.
And certain other versions of king lines that came out of both of those. It was like the two brothers that had a big fight.
Well, Atlantis would have had to have existed in the first place, and we'd have to have concrete proof of that, based on replicable evidence-based research. The scientific method. But we have no proof whatsoever that Atlantis ever existed. Ever. None. Whatsoever. We have a second-hand account allegedly handed to Plato, who was part of the Pythagorean cult. He was part of a mystery school, a boys' club, a secret society. And I say it a lot. The last thing that a secret society would do is tell you about their secrets. And Atlantis would be a big secret if it was true. Which is why you and I have been spoon-fed shit. And that's an old narrative. A very old narrative. That predates the concept of propaganda.
They were going to create a hybrid race together, and then they decided...
Hey, now we're talking about hybrid races. Which we have no proof of whatsoever. Yes, there's a lizard brain. If you've read Lindsay's books or watched the Dexter TV show, yeah, you might hear that reinforced as well. Because we do have, our lizard brain, supposedly. Doesn't mean that we're hybrids.
No, we don't like each other. We're on the two different lines. This is where you mainly got Major Drac versus Major Anunnaki.
Now, I appreciate that she began with the Bible. Just like Bill Donahue and a number of other controlled opposition assets who rope you in. They're pleading to, they're catering to, good people who are gullible. And who assume because this woman mentioned the Bible, she's probably a good person, I can trust her. And now she's telling you about fucking lizard people and a bullshit narrative about Atlantis and test tube aliens. It's garbage. And this is what TikTok circulates. Let's see how many people are following this. 28,000 because it's propaganda. Absolute fucking dog shit. Notice there's one emoji in the description box that I see offhand. That's a red flag. There's the word indigo because this gal is shopping around New Age propaganda. These are red flags. Oh, by the way, Oracle decks, typically speaking, are pointless dog shit. Typically speaking. Multidimensional. Simulation theory. The multiverse of adult fairy tales. Holographic nonsense. Atomism and quantum theory are all in place also to promote and pave the way for a one-world religion. Oneness. Almost told you I shouldn't do that. It has to do with something really big that took place a long time ago. I know that's purposely vague. Oneness. The reason things like that are shopped around is because this is also part of a narrative which will likely be rebranded again. You've probably heard One Love. It's another one. It's older. This is to pave the way for people buying into merging with machine. Man with machine, mind you. We're all one, so why not do that? And then that bleeds into what I just told you about simulation theory and all that other garbage having to do with the Matrix movie from 1999 being flat out propaganda to normalize this shit. which is why people talk about being NPCs these days, and they claim that they live in the Matrix and a bunch of other garbage. That doesn't reflect reality. That's not what's going on. But you and I are being softened up, dumbed down, and these things are well-financed, well-circulated, and normalized so that these agendas come together. And nobody does anything to stop them. You can assume I'm wrong, and most of you probably will. This chick is the fucking problem, and she's one of many. And technically speaking, you and I are surrounded by people like this. They don't all shop around New Age propaganda exclusively. There are other iterations to this. When I hear people talking about science these days, those kids are pseudo-intellectuals. They are talking about pseudoscience. Not to be confused with replicable evidence-based research based on the scientific method. Most, not all. Too many thoughts. Some of the kids in some of the electrician circles, it's one of many things. Or kids who will wax poetic about magnets and things like that. And electricity, again, really it's the same ball of wax. They will reaffirm aspects that touch on how reality works to varying degrees, but they are all lumped into paradigms which do not reflect what they're working with. This is no different from the flat earth and the globe theory. You assume, that you live on the flat earth or the globe theory, and planets are just doing things out there in fuck all and or under our dome. People do not understand how these work. They don't, because they don't understand how they work once again, or the system. Otherwise, they wouldn't repeat that shit to begin with. And the same applies to how magnets function, how electricity functions, how day and night function, how you and I function. People do not understand these things. And these are some of the things that I'm sitting on, and I could show you, and they're really neat. And I could build it up, and I can show you how it sings to itself, why it is what it is, where it's coming from. And these things are undeniably, absolutely fucking beautiful. But I should also probably do this, because while I'm at it, I'm still on the same account. Here, where is he at? Fucker. The exceptionally stupid kid that chimed in a while back and I told him to fuck off. He left me this on a post. It's very helpful. He used my moniker and he said, is a tartar, because I think I titled it. Yeah, I did, tartar, to fuck with people. And then he put a period. That's great. Okay. And then we got vampire, which isn't capitalized. He said, gang stalkers are at my door, because he's probably 12 years old, or mentally the equivalent of a 12-year-old. I've told him to fuck off a number of times. He won't fuck off. And it's a problem. It's a problem. For you and I both. I mean, just to make it clear, I left a couple posts on there to remind him to fuck off. But people who do haunt these accounts, I mean, maybe he'll unsubscribe. Probably not, because he's a lazy sack of shit. They just circle back. I've been at this for a very long time. I've dealt with one too many people like this. These are the brain dead kids who repeat things like what I just showcased, what I just highlighted, what I just took, almost 20 minutes of my life to try to help you guys understand. Some of you might have heard me say these things before, but I have no way of knowing that you have got past these things and you're not repeating propaganda anymore. And most people usually rest on their laurels the moment that other people aren't, staring them down, challenging them, etc., which is another reason why people are spoon-fed, polarizing positive vibes only, so that there are no checks and balances and things get wildly out of hand. Imagine that. Things are bad these days. I wonder how that happened. Food for thought. Every single time I have to deal with idiots like this, what I kick around is either not posting anymore, which I don't want to do because every single day I get on the internet, all I do is see fucking morons shopping around propaganda. That's what people are doing. I don't see people with honest messages. I don't see people pointing out what's what. I don't see people making any progress. And maybe that's just the sphere of influence that I'm what is the word that I'm looking for? that I'm capable of, or I'm able, that I'm, what's the word that I'm looking for? That's being afforded to me, in terms of the sphere of access. Maybe. You never know. You never know. Maybe people are doing other neat stuff out there. I don't know. But I sure shit have never run across it, and the people I bump into in real life do not have a clue. Not one. I also live in Portland, Oregon, with a bunch of vaccinated facial diapers. Typically speaking, they're squeaky little boys in dresses who are vaccinated facial diapers. And that's just me picking on the dudes. I mean, there's a lot of bearded women in this town now, too. Who here, I should rattle this off, too. 1 second. I think it's, okay, so it's this is a TV show. So, season 2 of that Paradise TV show. It's episode 6, I think. Yeah, I think so. I slogged through that tonight, and this entire season's been filler for the most part. But this episode in particular was absolute dog shit. If you've seen Disney Star stuff, Disney Star Wars with Daisy Ridley, it's the same methodology again. And this has to do with the changing of the guard. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's something that I mentioned to people a while back. And if you took notes, you probably have a deeper understanding of what I'm alluding to at the moment, which is why you probably should take notes when I do dip into things more so, which I'm trying not to do because of fuckers like this. So in this episode, there's a secret, it's spoilers, mind you, one of the Secret Service people is a chick, and she weighs maybe 75, 80 pounds wet. And she's supposed to be a badass because the script keeps telling us that she is a force to be reckoned with. She's nearly unstoppable. We can't fathom just how awesome she is. People better not try to do anything, because if they did, she would probably overtake them because she's 80 pounds wet. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. It's a lot of, tell but not show. She talk the talk, not walk the walk. And when you do see a moment, I mean, what does she do? She grabs a guy in a headlock, and I think she disarms him. And so she's got a gun pointed to him. And she's telling a bunch of dudes, there are so many fucking angles here, where she's vulnerable numerous times over, and at the end of the scene, she takes the gun away from his temple and turns around, and this is after her telling them, essentially, don't fuck with me, don't come at me, or else. And then she turns around, she puts her back to them. There were so many times I'm like, just put a fucking slug in the back of her fucking, brainstem and be done with this. It's a joke. And it was so poorly executed, it's laughable. So I had a point to this. I might have to go back and watch the rest of what I was recording earlier. It had to do with, the feminine... Oh, I was talking about bearded women. That's what it is. So I popped into a grocery store, and this teeny little bearded woman, I think she's like 4 feet, maybe 5 feet. Maybe she's teeny tiny. And she looks like a bearded woman from a fucking circus. And she was picking up baskets in a grocery store because that's where she works. But the way she pushed her way past me, she's, oh, excuse me. And then she acted like she was lifting the heaviest fucking thing in the world. There were 5 baskets, mind you. And then she marched her little way over to the front door and plopped him down like she accomplished this great effort. And I mean, maybe if she was sore, maybe her little arms, hurt. I don't know. But it was quite a show. She put on a pageant. And you hear this a lot because there are quite a few bearded women in town that will talk about how they're dudes and how they do guy stuff. And they're caricatures. I'd never say that word right. They're bastardizations of the male archetype. That's a bad way to put it. And some of them, it makes me laugh. Some of them I knew when they were distinctly feminine and not, pretending outwardly. And these were some of the same people that used to say, fight the patriarchy And now they've grown beards and they're big pharma slaves. And they march around and they say, I'm a dude. I'm doing dude stuff. Guy stuff. I don't know about you. If you're a dude and you got a cock, because you're a dude, I've never marched around and said shit like that. Never. I mean, I used to know some guys who would joke around about being the man, every now and again, but not nearly as often, not every single fucking conversation. I mean, it's delusional. It's somebody putting themselves on and playing make-believe. It's cosplay, obviously, but it's not as obvious to most people. And this is the world we live in. Part of the reason I'm complaining about this is, one, it's absolutely laughable. Now I'm doing two, who fucking knows? I don't know why I started counting. It's a joke. But it touches on the fact that people are so fucking diluted. They're so goddamn lost. They're gullible enough to buy into things like that. They'll probably repeat draconian stuff, or Atlantis did this, or fill in the blank with all the garbage that are already highlighted. And or be a fucking Muppet like this who keeps talking at me but not doing the right thing. If this idiot had done the right thing in the first place, I would help whoever this is. But this kid's a fucking idiot. Unfortunately, you and I are surrounded by idiots. What the fuck do I know? I am trying to help you despite what most of you would probably assume about me, because you're probably a fucking idiot.